Hola, internet! Welcome to the Ghostlight Social. You know the score. It's where we get creative people together. We have a bit of a chinwag. We raise our hope. We dash our fears.
How are we, Mike? What we doing? What we up to? What's going on?
I'm all right, I think. Yeah,
How's the Spanish?
it did really well. I did my first level test today, and
All
I
right.
passed it, which is fine.
So what did you have to do? Give us a sentence.
To Ella S. Nina,
What?
you are a girl.
You are a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, that's fantastic. Well done. It's good.
I did
Brilliant.
actually figure out how to do the intro in Spanish, and I was going to do it, and then I forgot to load it up on my screen, so I didn't.
Did you Google Translate
I
that?
Google translated that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you did. Right. Okay. Look.
I'm
Go on.
going to say so. It's hola internet, bienvenidos otra tema de la luz fantasma social.
Okay.
There you
We
go.
can only apologise to all the Spanish people out there
Yeah, because
for
there's
the very
loads.
poor. Let's get our guests on because I've been waiting for ages to get these two on. So we're very, very lucky to have with us Rich Huxley, and producer, musician, sound designer. I think I'm allowed to call you a sound designer. You do that, don't you, Ed? Ed Heaton. How are we, fellas?
Hello, nice to see you.
And now he's pretending that his mic doesn't work.
It's Norman Collier.
Is it literally not working? Oh my God, I've just built you up to be like this producer, sound designer, and
What?
you can't get your own microphone to work.
Ed reached the level now where he has people to plug stuff in for him, so I think that's what it is.
So how's things, Rich? How's it been going?
Good, really. I guess everyone's got their own challenges at the moment, haven't they? Everyone's got a different set of circumstances to deal with. So in some senses, we've been super lucky here. My wife is an early years teacher, so and we have two kids that fit into that category. I think she's been doing amazing work there, which has enabled me, given me the free time to be able to spend a lot of time in this room, sitting at a computer or playing guitar or interacting with people online and getting some work in, really. So yeah, things generally speaking, things in this house are really good.
Let's jump into some questions. Have you got? Stay with you, Rich, if that's all right. Have
Yes,
you got
pal.
a song for our isolation playlist? And I will say that I have high hopes for these two gentlemen. So
I'm gonna leave it to you which ends up on the playlist. I've got three things which I think are amazing. Is that all right? Am I allowed to do that?
go on then. Yeah, seeing as we've had a technical hitch.
Well, I think for feel good factor, "Good as Hell" by Lizzo, because she's just bouncy, sing along fun,
Do like that song.
amazing, powerful black woman.
Yeah.
For similar reasons, Sampa the Great, Final Form.
Yes.
A bit more overtly political, bit hip hoppy, like really direct, like visceral stuff.
Yeah.
But they're all on major labels, so I should also give a big shout out to Pen Friend, the fantastic Laura Kidd, who's released a beautiful bit of work called "Everything Looks Normal in the Sunshine," which is like Weezer meets Sleeper meets Fonda 500. It's like perfect pop and like just rocking Sonic Joy.
I've been listening non-stop to the Taylor Swift's latest album, who I just think is amazing, and I think genuinely, like, no irony, no like, oh, I'm just being kind of like, genuinely I think he's brilliant. So I've really
Not
been...
what I was expecting, I have to admit. But
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Death by a Thousand Cuts from that album, I just think is absolutely brilliant. I'm Public Enemy are back with a track called State of the Union. I'm going to say it, shut the fuck up. And it is immediate and needed and visceral and calls out the Trump government for what they are, which is a bunch of Nazis. I think that's factual. And, you know, yeah, and he's absolutely astounding. It's going to sound a bit sycophantic here, but I am going to go for a Hope and Social track as well.
Oh,
One of my favourites. There's a track. Called Eurospin, which was recorded live, which is on their incredible April album, which is one of my personal favourite albums. And that song, like especially right now, the idea to roam around, just seems like one of the biggest. The lyrics are, through the fields and the roads and the towns, just feels like a luxury to do that.
I'm glad you know him. I don't know.
All right. I know Si doesn't either, so it's fine. Yeah, so that's one of kind of mine and my wife Andrea's favourites. So yeah, that as well.
Ed, when you said about being sycophantic, I did think you might just pull out one of my old The Innocent OJ's tracks. And I thought, hey, here we go, but no.
Here we go. Oh,
He was going down that. Oh no, that's my equivalent of thinking the paparazzi was taking pictures of me and Rachel with the pushchair in it. It's the same thing. What's the most coronavirus thing you've done?
Oh man, this is so I was trying to think about that, and I realised basically because I work from home anyway, I was like, oh, have I just lived my life in lockdown? Is that what it is? It's just more convenient now. I don't know. I mean, we tried to start doing jigsaws for a while, for like 10 minutes. I didn't realise they were really hard. And we were like, fuck that. Especially also because we had to sit, because it was a big jigsaw, so we had to sit on the floor. My back was fucking killing me after doing it. I'm also dyslexic, so just trying to find little pieces of one big picture. That's just like.
So this was like they were proper jigsaws, like thousand pieces.
Yeah.
No messing about.
It was the cover for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Right. Oh my days!
Just a good,
loads of tiny little
nice,
heads.
easy one,
we just went in deep, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's decent. Rich,
I think you're still muted there.
Me?
No, that was my answer. Doing that on Zoom about 800 times.
Yeah. You've got it on mute.
I was on a meeting the other day, and you've got the options to have it where you've got all the different faces, or you can have it on speaker view, so whoever's speaking.
Yeah. And
I had my earphones in, and I thought I'll sneak a little fart out here. And it wasn't a silent fart, and it lit up, and it came up as me because I'd done a fart. So there was that.
Have you seen back to the beat? Have you seen the Let It Be cover where they've done John? There's a cover from Let It Be with the 4 pictures of them, and it looks like on Zoom. John, you're on mute. John.
No, I will look forward to that though.
Because you've been doing music from the attic via Zoom as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So in normal circumstances, all my stuff is all my work is really involved with being with people in a place.
Yeah. So
pretty quickly, I think even before it was kind of officially lockdown situation, we'd already kind of moved to the doing everything on Zoom situation. So yeah, I've got I've got Monday night with Kirkstall music from the attic. I've got Wednesday night with Methley music from the attic. I've got a Thursday night ukulele club, and they're all kind of bands that anyone can join really. And so yeah, that's been like an absolute godsend in not only in terms of just keeping work going, but in terms of kind of social isolation.
Company, yeah. No, absolutely. Last thing that you said to an audience, maybe a line, a song. What was the last gig?
I think the last thing I said online to people was, in terms of being in front of people on a screen, was to my ukulele group, and I said, I really miss you, and I really can't wait to be inappropriate in your actual company, not just on the internet.
Okay.
I did a gig after coronavirus stuff had begun with Gary Stewart's Graceland stuff, and we did a show in a church. I want to say Beverley, but I might have that wrong in my head. And that was really weird. Really conflicted, great to be able to be in a space together and make a noise, and also aware that might not happen again. But it felt dangerous.
Okay, Ed.
Because obviously, being a music producer, I don't do a lot. I mean, I suppose I do a bit of teaching up at Leeds Beckett. So I suppose it was sort of being I did a kind of a couple of online things, which was okay. Yeah, I sort of, but I mean, I suppose really been in a rehearsal room. I was my wife did a show called Smile Club, which opened at the Playhouse, which I did the sound design for. You know, it was really brilliantly received. It's a one-woman show, and and it was just such a big.
That's one of the Red Ladder shows, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Smile. Yeah, so it's Red Ladder, and it was a really big deal for Andrea. Because she wrote and performed in it. It's a one-woman show, and that just felt like, and she literally just started the tour, and it felt like it was really like we were moving into a different cycle for us and the family, as well. Because I was, taking up a lot of childcare, and actually I was really enjoying it, and then suddenly this came along and just wiped everything. But yeah, I mean, I obviously sort of being a producer, I spent most of my time locked away in a dark room, just ignoring people.
During lockdown, what's the maximum amount of toilet roll that you've had in the house, Ed?
We've got it right now. We've just ordered some. We've got, I can't remember how many rolls, but it's in a massive box, and it's the environmentally friendly. So they give
that stuff, not the give a shit stuff.
Yeah, give a shit. Yeah, give a shit. Yeah, we got
the ones that are individually wrapped in different colours.
Indeed, yes. Like we have got literally shit tons of it. We now live in what is a padded cell. You can wipe your ass anywhere in our house.
It's good for soundproofing. Like, do you line the walls with it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
How many are we talking? How many was in that box?
I think it was at 48 rolls or something like that. It was, it was decent. We reckon we're good till Christmas.
See, we've not had a plethora of poo roll at all at any stage. But what I have learned is that there's different standards out there. I hadn't realised the importance of ply. I thought you could just do an extra 4 or however many.
Yeah, fold.
Yeah, but it's just not the same, is it? There are definitely grades of toilet roll.
Yeah, but I think you can get too much of that ply. I think it then becomes a bit sort of,
it's a sheet. It sheens, like it kind of like it hasn't got quite a grip.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's like the quilted stuff. I can't do that, mate. It's not. It just because it's just
like a duvet.
Yeah, because it sort of it kind of comes away a little bit. As you're using it, it's sort of like a really crap kitchen roll.
How bad is it that this is the bit of the conversation that we're almost into?
Right, I'm going to say,
right.
Should we move it along before this becomes? I mean, no. I'm all up for sponsors, and I'd quite. They sound like a really cool company who might sponsor us. So I'm happy that we're mentioning them again. But dexterity of ply is not really something the internet is really into.
I think it's important. So there we go. Okay, fair enough. A favourite industry moment you'd like to share with us?
Glastonbury was amazing. I was watching you on where you were talking to, was it Mitch from Carnival Bells? Was it Mitch?
Yeah.
It was Mitch. Yeah. Like him talking about Glastonbury, and that brought back all those memories. That was amazing. We went to LA on a thing once. We got to go and play at this amazing thing called Muse Expo, and we stayed in the Led Zeppelin hotel, and we had like an interview on top of the Bellage hotel with like LA in the background and all that. But I think maybe my favorite moment was we did a big project with when the Tour de France thing came to Yorkshire, when the Grand Depart, we did a big project with Yorkshire Festival, which is amazing. Essentially, it was a large scale, a band anyone could join, and we taught 1,500 people how to play our songs with us, and then we did 12 gigs in 4 days on a festival stage that we took with us 3 times a day over 2 weekends. 8 a.m, you set up a 500 person festival, you do a gig at 1 o'clock, you pack it down, you go to the next one, you do another one at 5 o'clock. The stage was towed and then folded out. But at the back end of that, they liked the project so much that they asked us to open the opening ceremony of the Tour de France at Leeds Arena. So we got to play one song. It felt like a bit of a cheat, but it was a hell of a rush to like 10,000 people in the room. And they say 300 million people on telly. Just interesting fact for those interested in growing their fan base. Following day, one less Facebook follower.
One less.
One less. And we were, and after it had finished,
You say it was me, Ed. You say it's me.
I was done. Fucking
sold out, those lads.
Gone. Yeah.
So we did the gig, and after the gig, we played with I think it was 180 people played with on stage. So we had Opera North's chorus and orchestra. We had like 2 brass bands, a class from a school, or 2 classes from a school, a ukulele. Excuse me, a ukulele group from York. What would you call a ukulele group from York?
Ukulele.
Yeah, there is a ukulele. No, they're called the Grand Old Uke of York. Yeah. We had choirs, and it was amazing. 5 minutes of amazing. They open these doors, and you walk out to 10,000 people. And we went. I finished and got very, very drunk. We finished that, and we walked over the road to another one of the amazing Nathan Clark from the Brudnell's venues called The Social in Leeds. And that's where we'd kind of told people we were going to hang out afterwards. And we walked in, and it was like the end of this 3-month project. We delivered like 1,000 workshops or something ridiculous. And we walked in, and everyone who we'd been working with on this thing. Sorry, and a roller derby team from Harrogate called Spartown Roller Girls, a very sexually aggressive roller derby team from Harrogate. And we walked in, and just everyone stood up and clapped, and I just collapsed into a puddle of that's that done. And it was so I think that's possibly my favourite moment, I think, of all the things.
I started a publishing company back in November, and we write songs for sync, so songs to kind of go with television and film. And I run it with 2 other people, a guy called Chris, who lives out in Switzerland, and a lady called Narelle, who lives kind of in Huddersfield Way. And she's a brilliant writer and producer, and Chris is a really great songwriter. And we just signed a direct licensing deal with the BBC at the end of December, right at the end of December, which was fantastic. It was a really great moment. And they invited us down to kind of come and have a meeting, just to kind of, because they have kind of different, they have sort of people who look after different departments, sort of, so like drama and, sport and all that kind of stuff, and who look after the music for each of those kind of departments. And so we went down in February, just before the lockdown, and we had the meeting in Broadcasting House. And I remember sort of sitting there in this meeting, and we played the music, and everyone was really lovely, and like just genuinely really lovely about it. It wasn't like kind of yeah great, kind of. I've been in rooms where it's been like yeah love it, yeah, and just walk out. It was like everyone was really lovely, asking loads of questions, just really interested in like going, I can see it in this and this, and it's just, and Chris and Narelle would just been brilliant. And that kind of moment of like, because I think most people who work in the creative industries, I think most people have that kind of imposter syndrome, like that thing, you're like, someone's going to find me out in a fucking minute. I just don't know what I'm doing. And like, and and I had
no idea what you mean. Don't know what you mean.
and I just had that moment of thinking like, and we were chatting away to all these people, and like, it's like, I'm all right here, I belong here. Like that kind of moment of like, I've got nothing to prove, like I didn't feel like I was an imposter. I felt like I knew what I was doing, and I thought what we were presenting was really great. I knew that they really needed it, that they really liked it. And I really sort of felt this sort of sense of kind of validation, sort of like, this is right. We're doing something right. And and just the 3 of us leaving the building, and like after the meeting, just.
Did you get chucked out?
You're like, get the fuck out.
Come on. Tap on the shoulder. Come on, Joker. Off you go.
Stop taking selfies. Yeah. And I remember just the 3 of us leaving and like looking at each other going, we fucking nailed that. Like it was just like one of those, like, that was great. You knew it was like, yeah. And that moment of like, it just felt right. And just after that, we went for something to eat, and I got food poisoning, and that's it. I had to sit on a train for 2 hours back from King's Cross to Leeds, just going, please don't shoot yourself. Please don't shoot yourself. I'm just like panting and sweating. People walking past me just going, who the fuck is that guy? Like, hoping I wasn't going to, like, I've been on the tube on the way to the King's Cross going, I think I'm going to, am I going to ship? No, I'm all right. I'm all right now. So, you know, every glory follows.
Yeah. I think we've got a question in the text, haven't we, Mike?
Yeah. So Ben Dennison, hello Ben, thanks for watching.
Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Loving the show. Sorry to interrupt the Loo Roll chat, but I'm doing a bit of internet shopping. Can the panel recommend some half-decent wired studio headphones? He also says later on...
it's a consumer show now.
Dirt cheap.
I'm going to go get some. Oh, they're cheap.
Yeah, cheap. So these ones are JVC. Nice. They were a tenner off Amazon. And it sparked conversation within the chat. There's been a couple of suggestions so far.
What are the suggestions? What have we got?
I ain't got my glasses on, so I can't
whatever you do, don't ask Ed, because he can't even get a microphone to work.
Yeah. You know, don't ever get so these are like what called DT100s, the industry standard, yeah. And everyone, you know, because they're utter shit. Like,
do you know what? I've had these. I've had HD2.
Say what you like, I can't hear you.
205
Sennheiser.
I have had them for 20 years.
Can't go wrong with Sennheisers, that's right.
20 years. And I don't think they were that expensive. They were 20 years ago, I reckon I bought them. I was still at the Elbow Room, so it must be at least 20 years ago. And
you were at the Elbow Rooms?
I used to run the Elbow Room, yeah.
Oh, my days. I've had some of my happiest moments in there.
Yeah, you didn't mention it in your favourite moments, though, did you?
Yeah.
And I reckon I probably paid about 25 quid for these 20 years ago, which, you know, but they're mint. They're really, really good. Anyway.
These are Sound Magic headphones, in-ears. If you're happy to have a set of in-ears.
Here we go.
They're really cheap. They're like, you can spend 25 quid. You can spend 12.5 quid if you shape up. I can't remember the model number, but yeah, Sound Magic headphones for, like, I'm sure they're made of children's tears, but
yeah, I'm sure they are. Absolutely are.
But definitely worth a go, and they come in a nice little case and everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Sold.
Did he say specifically what kind of headphones he wanted?
Wired.
Hey, I'd go for Sennheiser. Pair of Sennheisers. Yeah. You just can't, you know, strong choice. Yeah. I like HD25s. You know.
Yeah, everyone likes them.
Yeah.
I like the Audio Technicas. Is it ATM50?
Yeah.
They're really great, but they're about 90 quid if you shape up. If you look hard enough.
All right. What about microphones while we're on it?
Can't go wrong with a 58. If you want to get something that's going to be rugged, you can't go wrong with an SM58.
I mean, SM7B as well. Like, if you're looking for kind of all-purpose, do everything, you know, like vocals, but you can also put it on a kick drum. That or RE20, and RE20.
EV-RE20.
EV-RE20, thanks. Yeah, EV-RE20, like RE20s on just everything. Like, it's particularly, I love them on guitar cabs. They're just brilliant. Yeah.
And they're all like that. They're the class. Like the SM7 you're talking about it's the Michael Jackson microphone from Thriller. The RE20 is like.
Is that the one you couldn't get to work?
Yeah, that's the thing is, that's nothing to do with the microphone. That's just to do with my sheer incompetence.
User error.
It's always user error. Always.
Just to complete the full picture, like USB interfaces.
Whatever.
Well, I've got I've got a Firewire, and I've got a UA Apollo. So
I'm a bit jealous.
Yeah, UA Apollo. That's what I've got.
What you rocking, Rich?
I've got a couple of things on the go. I've got a Focusrite. I've got an old Focusrite Sapphire.
Which can't beat.
And you can pick up a second-hand one of them for 25 quid. I've also got a Motu 828. So yeah, I'm in the market at the moment. I'm looking at doing a little bit of spending, some selling, some buying.
SSL have got some new cheap, kind of some more affordable, because SSL used to be completely out of out of reach for any kind of, anyone who had kind of domestic recording. But like now they've really,
people love them.
Well, that's the consumer stuff out of the way, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to say, your wife.
I wanted to complete the circle.
Your wife has just texted as well and just said, "What is this? Fucking tomorrow's world."
I'm assuming. So, just going back to the conversation we were having, Ed, I'm assuming that that sort of relationship with the BBC is still active, or is it just everything been put on hold? Or
no, and like they're actually, the BBC have been really kind of like they've been really great, and sort of, I know a lot of people kind of got politically quite mixed feelings about the BBC, but they employ a lot of creatives. Like they're a massive employer of creatives. They're the biggest music licenses in the UK. So for people who are making music, that like who's making music, they're paying for that music. So I don't know, and they've been really great with us. Yeah, they've been lovely. So yeah, that's something that's kind of ongoing.
So the big question, which is the industry and sort of hopes and fears and things.
It feels like there's an almost willful lack of support from the government for anything to do with the arts. Well, there has been for years. Theatres, venues, festivals. Like, I think a lot of artists are facing a particularly lean patch, and there are justifiable concerns that the things that we love and that we all profess to kind of say are important just won't exist, whether it be venues or artists who aren't able to continue. Like, I think on the flip side, the organisations that I know in the arts and the people I know work in the arts are amongst the most flexible, entrepreneurial, lateral thinking people I know. Not all of them, but that's my general experience, and they have to be, because the system's generally designed to benefit the people who are already doing well. So, Andrew Lloyd Webber's all right because he's already got all the money. In fact, the government actually designed a taxation system which meant that money was pulled out of grassroots arts and funneled to people like Andrew Lloyd Webber. Chris Martin will be fine. Coldplay are still on the radio, But for those who don't have that audience, the majority of artists and venues and festivals, they're the ones that are left behind. Like, I do like the BBC. I'm a big fan of the BBC as a thing. The majority of music that is made, if we're talking about radio, the majority of music that is made by what people would probably refer to as jobbing musicians. Is it 95%? Ed, you might know the figures more than me. 95% of music that's on the radio.
On Radio 1 and 2 is from major labels.
It's from major labels, and
yeah.
So if you've got the funding to,
is it the playlists? You mean the playlists on?
Daytime, yeah, and it is really skewed, and the issue is also the money you need to get onto playlists now is just and although interesting enough, radio now's impact is really, because now it's Spotify's becoming, or Spotify playlists is now becoming kind of the predominant way to kind of reach an audience, and they're talking about kind of the import of radio as a tool. I mean, I still think radio is really important, and but kind of I know that like one play used to be really important for an artist. On you get a play on Radio 1 and you would feel the impact immediately, and now you get a play on Radio 1 and. It's interesting. I mean, joking aside, Rich. I mean, like you're saying, you played in front of how many people, and it takes a lot of stuff because people are getting so much information now. It takes so much longer for stuff to go in.
I don't know whether that's been like, if you were on the radio and you had a play, it's always been good for the CV. But in order for people to log that they like stuff in the main, I think it's like people have to have 6 opportunities to hear it.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the same for a period. So that might be playlisty stuff, or that might be to do with being on TV or being on radio. There's an artist called Darwin Dees, and there's a song called Radar Detector. And occasionally this happens where something will come on the radio, and if I'm not on a motorway, I'll just pull over and buy it straight away. But I don't think that's the norm. But if you are on rotation, that is where the transition comes. So you've got like champions like the amazing Tom Robinson, who's playing independent artists not exclusively, but like predominantly, and that's fantastic. And it's great to be on, to be on those things. If what we want from the arts and what we want from radio is a breadth of programming, is a breadth of music. If we want a wide experience, then radio, particularly public funded radio, should not be funneling the money back up the noses of Sony executives.
Yeah.
And I think what's really tricky as well is because it is a cyclical thing, because you get performance royalties as well from and PRS royalties. So it's kind of self-serving. So the money goes back for radio play, goes back to the major labels. So therefore the majors continue to have the money to keep funding. And and even like something like streaming, which I'm a big fan of streaming, and I use Spotify all the time, and it's great. But I think to be able to give kids now basically, here's the entire music catalogue of music at your disposal. There is something wonderful about that. As a parent, to be able to go, you want to listen to something, I can find anything for you, and the artists will get paid a tiny amount, and there's the kind of payment gap which we talk about, the value gap, which is so called, and where the money is going to and from, and a lot of that is about some of the draconian. So there's a thing. There's the future formats, what's called the future formats clause has bitten a lot of artists. So essentially what happened is that artists signed a contract and saying any future format would mean that they would still get paid the same royalty rate regardless of what the format was, which wasn't necessary. And a standard royalty rate for an artist on a major label is about sort of somewhere between 10 to 15%, probably more like 12% would be an average. Which is, so if you're selling a CD from a retailer, you'd get a dealer price of about £10, maybe sort of eight to £10 at the height of the industry. You would get 12% of that. Yeah. As an artist. As Spotify, you're talking about the same royalty rate on 0.003p per play. So and then you've got to break that up with management, band members. So you're talking about an enormous split of a tiny amount of money.
We do pay what you want, so you can get anything that we've made for whatever you want to pay. And sometimes that means people pay. We've had once somebody paid us 15p because they had 15p, and we were like, "That's absolutely fine. You take that. We'd rather you have it than didn't." But on the flip side of that, we played like an industry festival in Manchester. One guy gave us 20 quid, took 2 CDs, and I said, everything's pay what you want online as well. So if you want to go and enter a 0 there, you're welcome to do so. And he was like, I can get it all online. He said, yeah. He said, I have these CDs back. I went to give him the 20 quid back. He was like, no, I want you to have the money. People don't buy a CD because they can't get the music another way. People buy a CD because they want you to have the money.
Yeah.
And if people know that you're not going to get the money, I think that's another reason. People buy out of gratitude. People buy because they've got a relationship with you.
It's also changed in terms of how we're interacting as well. So one of the things I always say is it used to be make, distribute, sell. So and what it was, you make the music, distribute out to the shops, and then you would try and sell it. Because essentially what you needed to do was someone to, like say, leave their house, get on a bus, go into town, find a retailer, find that CD, then part with their money. That's a lot of work. Yeah. That's some work. And now that entire premise has been removed. Like, all you need to do is get someone to press play. So you need to engage them. So now it's make, distribute, engage. So because the paywall's been removed.
I do think it's possible to make money from record sales. Like, I think we've had in recent years, like, I think the Adele album, the Lady Gaga stuff, they've been amongst the biggest selling records of all time. I think one of those artists has the biggest selling in terms of money, the most record sales. So I don't think selling music or making money out of recorded music is dead. I think that's
far from it. In fact, far from it. They're making the industry's growing exponentially.
I think that's a narrative that's like, it's an easy. We heard it with. Home taping is killing music.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's not. I used to record the top 40, and then I used to go and buy the stuff I cared about.
Everybody did, absolutely.
Same with streaming. I'll listen to a whole load of stuff, but the stuff that I care about, I'll go and buy. I went for a meeting with Bandcamp a few years back, and at that meeting was an artist who her main way of making money. Do you know the video game Second Life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her main way of making music was doing gigs in Second Life.
Great.
Yeah.
So there are other ways of doing things that can turn over money, but there is I think where the trickiness is, like we asked people about driving gigs. We put up on our Facebook page. We said, apparently the go ahead has been given for driving gigs.
Yeah.
And we said, how would people feel about this? And people generally, like, I would say probably in the main, it was very mixed. Some people like, you know what, it's better than nothing. Mm. But a lot of people like, that's not, I don't want to go and sit in a car and listen to you. Mm. People go to our gigs because they get to see people they haven't seen in ages, because they get to come together and we get to be in a space, and for a couple of hours we are a community. We have that that family connection that's centered around one thing, and that in a socially distanced context, that's not going to happen.
Music's seen as commercial essentially, and that where kind of theatre is seen as non-commercial and therefore should be supported. And it's actually the government need to wake up and realise actually grassroots music is as struggles as much, if not more so than grassroots theatre.
Okay, so Rich, this is my last question to you. What's your vice been?
My vices have decreased during lockdown.
Very good.
In terms of the variety of them,
because there were so many.
Because you couldn't get hold of them.
No, like should I wish to my supplies? Should I wish to get, like, for example, energy drinks? Let's say energy drinks. Not touched an energy drink for the duration. I've drunk.
The last person who needs a fucking energy drink is you.
I've drunk less coffee. I definitely spent, I reckon, probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, I did go through a significant amount of beers, craft ales, really. And this is this is a brew dog, and I would rather go elsewhere. But that's how middle class we are. I'm down to the brew dogs right now. But craft ales is probably my biggest vice. But
both my stepdad and my father-in-law are both like a beer, as most men of their age do. And so in our cellar, I've got a keg of Ossett Brewery's, I think it might be their Silver King.
Did you do a King?
Yeah.
Did you do a click and collect?
Yeah. And 12 cans of one of everything. And I love Ossett Brewery beer. It's so good.
Strong.
There you go.
So what you're saying is we should come round and get that out of your house. Just
the cans have gone. There's just the keg.
That's all right.
Get a bit, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ed, vice?
All the food, all the fucking biscuits. I was like, I'd lost weight. I was running 5K. I was like,
were you about to say you're running 5K a day?
I wasn't a day. Every other day though I was.
Okay,
and I was doing.
Is that how long it took though?
Yeah. Oh, man. But I was doing good now. I went out for a run today. I was like, I'll go from first run I've been since lockdown. I was like, that's all right. I'll do 20 minutes. 40 minutes in, I was like, just gasping and there was just, it was like Santa Claus is dying at the side of the road, Mum. And so all the biscuits, I like you craft. Basically, we've been getting beer from Rainville Road, so Rainville Superstores, which is around I don't mind giving them an ad. They're amazing. Craft beer store down in Bramley, and we get our beer delivered. We pick it up from there, and it is Jesus Christ. We're spending a fortune on that shit. So we're Dad, and I'm just fat. I've just got really fat, and I cry myself to sleep in my reinforced bed.
It's been an absolute pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on. Very much appreciated.
We should do it again when no one's watching.
Nobody was watching. Mike was just trying to pick you up.
Oh no, we've still got 9.
Oh, like, subscribe, do all that stuff because we've got a new YouTube channel.
Mum.
Yeah. Like the YouTube video, like and subscribe because they're all YouTube because I can see. But go over to Twitch and subscribe there as well.
Oh, that's good. I think they might be of a certain age. You might have to explain what Twitch is.
Twitch is like YouTube, but they pay us more. So go over there. We want you over there.
What do you mean more? YouTube don't pay us anything.
Nobody pays us anything right now, but if they all moved over to Twitch, we might start getting paid.
Lovely to see you both.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
mate. Thanks for having us. Lovely to see you.
Lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
See you guys.
Farewell.
Ruth on. So Ruth Carney and Steve Cooper on Wednesday. And that's it, really.
Yeah. So we're back Wednesday. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Don't forget, there's a podcast version of this which is out whenever Lee uploads it, and it's basically all the previous audio from our things. We might
Episode 8 is being uploaded this week.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I did check out Rebecca Ryan and Matt Ganley. Their episode was the last one up. That's a fun episode. I'm liking the titles you're using as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to find a little title from each one.
It's nice.
Yeah, God knows what I'm going to do with this one.
Call it.
The Headphone Consumer Show.
Yeah, tomorrow's headphones. So go over to iTunes. We're not on Spotify yet, but
we are on Spotify. Why do you keep saying we're not on Spotify? We are on Spotify.
See it on Spotify.
Well, it's right there. So go and have a look.
Go on Spotify. Go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Just don't even have to listen to it. Just give us a 5-star review.
You do have to listen to it. Good.
So thanks very much for watching. It's been a little bit chaotic, I know. Stopping and started, but we've had some great guests. And I'm just going to roll the credits and stop talking. See you later. Adios.